Okay, everybody, let's close our eyes and pray in for tonight. Take a deep breath. And with these breaths that raise our frequency, we reclaim our divine wisdom, our higher self, the part of our soul that remains in the divine realms to always guide us, even when we're here on earth. This is the frequency we are shifting into tonight as we go to this class, because in this higher frequency of love, of joy, of compassion, of fun, this is where all answers are known. This is where there is no veil between this realm and other realms. This is where we experience the presence of our departed loved ones, our spirit guides, and our angelic beings. And so we gratefully open our hearts and rise our frequency tonight, breathing into it, knowing that we're all here on purpose and we're all here to learn exactly what we need to learn tonight in this class. And so it is. Thank you. All righty. So you all can unmute if you want to ask me a question, but I did want to start with a little bit of review inspired by questions. So last week we discussed birth path, the meaning of numbers, personal year, and soul agreement. So before we move forward, if you have lingering questions about birth path, the 3 ways you add it, what the numbers mean, personal year, and soul agreements, let's talk about it now. In fact, I'm going to go to the soul agreement page because someone already asked me about that one. So we're gonna go into that page. And don't forget, if you want to speak up, you have to unmute yourself. So the soul agreements are so easy to calculate and they give us so much information. They are, before you go to dinner, if you're single, before you go to dinner with a new possible partner, you need to figure out your soul agreement with them. And you may still fall in love and go into that relationship, but at least you know how to manage it and how to navigate it. So, for example, my birth path is the 22/4. My husband, Paul, who died, his birth path was the number 5. If I had known numerology before I met Paul, I think maybe, and I'm not sure because we learn what we need to learn when we need to learn it. But I think if I had understood that I had a soul agreement with Paul of the number 9, which is surrender, let it go, highest lessons in play, I might have been able to let him go and not fight for his cure as I fought for his healing for a year. And I might have been able to more gracefully surrender, that he was going to cross over. And I'm not saying I would have, but it could have helped me. So this is how soul agreements really feed our wisdom, whether we're talking about with our relationship partner, our children, our departed loved ones. And so I hope all of you have taken some time to look at your birth path, a partner's birth path, or your children's birth path, and look at that soul agreement. So I'll just quickly run down what these mean. So if you have a soul agreement of the number 1, you can have a long and happy relationship, but you are walking parallel paths next to each other, but not merging with each other. So you'll end up being best friends. You'll kind of have an independent relationship where you do your thing and your partner does their thing, and that works for both of you. But if you ever want to really merge with someone and feel kind of that deep soul passion and connection, a 1 soul agreement is more about helping you get on your individual path, which may be perfect for you wherever you are in your journey. But if your soul agreement is the number 2 or the 11, it means you are going to have a deep connection with this person, whether they're a friend or a family member or a boss or a client or a relationship. You know, that 11 relationship number, in my opinion, is incredible because you feel so intuitively connected to the person, and yet it comes with its own difficulties because you're going to feel everything they feel. You're going to know what they're thinking. And I'm not kidding. That's exactly how it'll go. And let's just pretend this is your child and you're in this deep 11 intuitive soul agreement with them. You know, at some point, they're going to feel that they need to pull away because they're going to know what you're thinking all the time and feel what you're feeling. And children have to push away from us to find their own path. So that's kind of the downside, is it can be too much closeness in certain situations. However, if your departed loved one is in the divine realms in heaven and you have an 11 soul agreement with them, it means that yes, you have pure communication with them, and there, no matter what happens from then on in your life, you're going to be able to connect to them whenever you call out, or even they will be coming to you, talking to you, even if you haven't called out to them. If your soul agreement is the number 3, it means that you're going to have a great time together. There's going to be a lot of playing, a lot of creativity, a lot of talking, a lot of ideas, but you're also going to be very much in your heads. And so the challenge of that agreement is going to be opening your hearts to each other, getting out of your head, opening your hearts, and that'll be the growth. The arc of growth learning for that relationship will be moving from head to heart. If your soul agreement is 4, it means you're going to be very strong bond, and it could last forever, but you will always have to work on it. So, for example, you might have communication problems where you have to talk about how it's best to communicate, but it is an enduring bond, and it will never be diminished, but it will always require some work. And then if it's a 22 soul agreement, it means you definitely came here to do some high frequency work together. So when I have a 22 soul agreement with somebody, it's great. We just fall right into our work that we want to do, you know, and we decide, oh, let's teach a workshop together. Let's do this or that. It feels incredibly easy when you have that 22 soul agreement. If it's a 5 soul agreement, great passion, great sensuality, sharing a love of physical parts of life, whether it's travel or love or adventure. But also one of the challenges of the 5 is kind of getting lost in addiction and in physical indulgences. So the relationship, you would have to ground it in work and in family and in other things, because the 5 is not a grounded number. It's much more about change and moving on and kind of up in the air, jumping off the cliff, going for the next. And so that 5 agreement says, let's ground it in family, or let's ground it in work together. And if it's a 6 soul agreement, it means that you have an easy love with this person, and that easy love does not go away. It just happens from the moment you meet them. 6 is the number of heart, partnership, connection, family. One of my good friends is on the 11-2 path, and I'm on the 22-4. So we have that 6 soul agreement. And we often say that the moment we first laid eyes on each other, we were so in love, and she's still one of my greatest girlfriends. So those soul agreement numbers really are powerful, because just like in the 6, you can lose yourself in another person. Well, if you have that kind of soul agreement, yes, you've got to pull back every now and then, take your breath, remember who you are, so that when you merge with them, you are not becoming them. You are holding on to yourself. And then if your soul agreement is 33, then woohoo, it's going to be very high charged and very out there and very spiritual and very creative. But most of all, it's meant to bring you both to an enlightened state of being. Um, 33 being the highest frequency number that we can come in on. If your soul agreement is the number 7, then it's spiritual learning. It's spiritual study. It's developing intuition together. However, 7 can be a scratchy number. It can be critical and too introspective and too much examining of the relationship and finding its flaws. So if you have a 7 soul agreement, you have to work hard to get out of the analyzation of it, the perfectionism of it, and bring it to God, so to speak, bring it to the higher spiritual frequencies where it belongs. If your soul agreement is the 8, then you're here to own your power in this relationship and not abuse your power or give it away. And many times we have a child who we have an 8 soul agreement with, and that can be tough because as a mom, I can tell you it's very easy to give your power away to a child that you have an 8 soul agreement with because you want to empower them so much. And you get exhausted by trying to outdo their will because they will always outpower you. And so that's a challenging parental child soul agreement number 8. If it's your marriage, then yes, you have to hold your power to your heart, to your own center, and not give it away and not allow yourself to be abused either. If it's a 9 soul agreement, ultimate lesson like I had with Paul, and to take that even further, yes, he wasn't going to stay on this earth realm with me, but he was going to be my great teacher for the rest of this lifetime. And he has been. So what a beautiful soul agreement 9 is. However, at the time, it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted family and marriage. And I mean, we had a marriage, but we didn't have kids yet. And so what I thought I wanted, a normal life, did not come from that 9 soul agreement. But instead, what came was exactly what my soul needed and wanted and had ordered up. So let me see what other questions. Let me get out of here. Okay, so we have some chat questions. Do soul path agreements also? Yes, they do. Hopefully I've answered that for you. Go look at your soul agreement with anybody and you've ever known, and that soul agreement will definitely help you understand that relationship. And somebody else is saying they blocked what they believed was their twin flame. So what I want to say about that is you can't, first of all, I want to talk about twin flames. I think, to me, from my exploration of these ideas, we all want to believe that there's this one person walking on earth who's going to give us the love we've never gotten here and is going to make our life perfect and we're going to love them. And so we've even given that a name, twin flame. Here's what I know to be true about this. We come into a lifetime for one purpose, to grow and learn. Our love that we're always desperately seeking here comes from the divine realms. No human being can ever satisfy that kind of love. The minute we leave the body, you feel and remember what real love is. It's this unconditional love from the divine source. It is so much greater than what you and I can give each other. We are limited in our human minds, our human brains, our human bodies. Only a part of our enormous soul is here in this presence. And so thinking that we're going to get this divine love from another human being walking on earth, no, they're flawed. They came here to learn and grow. They're having their own problems and challenges. They can't be your source of unconditional love. However, we have many soul agreements. So, for example, my soul agreement with Paul was teaching me something very important. I've had soul agreements with other people that have been helping me learn different lessons. I'm married to a man now that I have a soul agreement of 11 with, and I'm learning from all of them. All those loves are different and wonderful and part of my growth and part of my soul posse that we've all incarnated together from many lifetimes. So it's impossible that you could make a mistake and push away or not find some perfect love partner that you're meant to be with. Think of Hollywood when you think of that idea, because that's what they want to tell you. It's just not true. Your true love is your soul learning here and being connected to your whole soul group. You've incarnated many lifetimes with them. You have perfect unconditional love with them from the higher realms, and you only really feel it when you're in the higher realms with them. So twin flame, that's what that is. And so I think I answered that question. There's no way you could have blocked that relationship or made that mistake. You know, I have a book called I See Your Soulmate. It's on Amazon. And what I want to say about it is that book really does go into a lot of detail about all this. It's out of print, but I think you can still get it on Amazon used or something. So anyway, there is that. And what else? What were my, oh, I had another question here, which I think I'm just going to ask you to talk about it. Melanie, can you unmute and tell me your question again?
Oh gosh, if I can find it. It's about- It was about the duality. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can just say it. My name, Melanie, means dark. And when I did my name number, the only number missing was 7. And that to me was spiritual learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I know duality is something that we go through throughout our life. Like we need that, the yin and the yang.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it just seemed like perhaps that was why I chose that name.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
I mean, your soul chose the name, that is true, and your soul chose your path of learning. Remind me again, you said your birth path. What is your birth path?
My birth path is 33-6.
Ah, right. Okay. So, I mean, that amps up everything that we're talking about. So, Melanie, I would say that, of course, you have to walk through the balance of light and dark. You know, that's everybody's journey here, but especially as a 33, guard your heart so carefully, guard your soul so carefully. You came to be a walking Christ consciousness being on earth and to share your incredible love and wisdom with the world. So whenever you think of dark and light, I really just want you to think of your whole point of existence is to bring light to this world, especially where there is darkness. So yes, perhaps that is what is written in the name numbers, but I would also say that Melanie meaning dark. I've never heard that before. Are you sure that's the only interpretation of that name is
I would
dark?
like it to mean other things, but I'm pretty sure
Well, I
it's
want you to go
it
go
also means black, which is all colors. So
so it means all colors.
because it means black and dark, are the two definitions that I've gotten. But black to me is all color. Right?
Okay.
That's okay.
Well, I don't want you identifying yourself with darkness. I don't, especially because you're a 33 master soul. I mean, you know, we can say you know how to pour light into the dark, yes, but there's no way that you came into this lifetime to experience darkness. You already have done that, you understand that, or you wouldn't have even been allowed to take the 33 path here. You're a highly evolved soul. You're a light carrier. you have great wisdom, and you're going to help so many people when you're ready to really step up to that 33. So
I feel it. So that's good to know.
does that answer your question?
Yeah, I feel it. So I was just listening to a podcast, and the person on the podcast was talking about duality, and I had just done my name. And so I just was thinking, is that, did I want that challenge? But I don't think that I hopefully don't see a lot of dark, but I appreciate you saying to hold my heart and soul, to be
Sacred.
careful with it. Yeah, sacred.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And then I see there's more questions coming up here. Let's see, where are they? Sun sign influence on the life path and significance to a transition date and how it relates back to their. No, Mary Ellen, there's no, okay, so our souls, there are certain things we know everything, but our exit point is in our soul's awareness from the moment we get here. The soul chooses the moment of entry and the moment of exit, but it is not correlated to our birth path because our conscious mind is not allowed to know it that way. Think of it this way. If you knew your exit point from the time you got here and you said, oh, well, it's going to be in 2024 in June that I'm out of here, you wouldn't live the life as you're meant to live it, learning every day, open, experiencing the whole range of emotions, everything from worrying about your future to joy and freedom and love and not worrying and just being in the bliss. All of those emotions are only possible because we don't know the end of the story. And that's why we come in with forgetfulness, with the veil. Because if we knew how this would play out, we would not be learning. We would just be, in the divine realms, there's no resistance for us. We are pure beings of love and awareness and higher consciousness. That's why when we pick a lifetime, we pack it up with lessons because we really want to grow and learn, because we've forgotten how painful it can be to be a human on earth. And then we land back in here and our soul's memory is gone. And sometimes we can find it, sometimes we can reclaim it. But for the most part, we're walking through here kind of blind to what we came to do. And that's why astrology and numerology and all these things are so helpful, because they spark that memory. Oh, I'm a soul. I came here first to do that. But the human mind wants to go, oh, well, let's go add up that date of birth and see if we can figure out when they're going to die and all that stuff. And I totally disagree with that. It's like people trying to cast a spell on somebody. That is abuse of our mind, abuse of our power. So when that exit date comes, it's going to be perfect because it's going to be the one that our soul chose. And we may not understand it. Our loved ones may not understand it, but it's the perfect one for our soul. So, there's so many questions here now. That's good. Let me go back here. Art, the sun sign influence we talked about last week. Who is iPhone there? Who asked that question? Can you give me a first name? Somebody is interested about sun sign on the birth path, and the only identification is iPhone. It's really helpful if you guys put your names there, because I have a lot of people in this class and I can't. Well, you have to unmute. Okay, well, anyway, whoever asked that question, we talked about it last week, so hopefully you went and heard it on the recording. So I'm not sure I want to go through all of that again, but I'll do a quick summary. So, for example, I am a Virgo 22. I have a friend who's a Pisces 22, and it's a very different way that we navigate the world. The Virgo part of me needs to make systems and create content and make things real for people. I'm never going to go live in an ashram and spend the rest of my life meditating. Even though I'd love that in theory, I would end up going back to my little room and writing a book about it, because I just want to bring it down to the world in content, in systems, in everything the Virgo mind loves, analyzing stuff, finding the solution and the answer, and then offering that to the world. The Pisces energy is all about intuition and spirituality. They are almost ascendant into the higher realms. Their goal here on earth is to basically ascend during the lifetime. And with the 22 under that, they're ascending into all these ideas, and their life is not going to force them to have a lot of work to do, whatever circumstances are needed, so that they really have their focus on the divine, and sharing that in whatever ways feel right to them will be the life of the Pisces 22. So even though your birth path is the same as someone else, you express it in the world differently according to your sun sign. And I did do a rundown of all those sun signs last week, so I'm pretty sure that's all in that other recording. Now, if I'm wrong about that, please correct me, but I really thought I did that last week. Anybody want to unmute and fill me in here about this?
Thank you, Sue, for explaining that. I asked the question about the sun signs, and I think I watched the recording last week, but I must have missed that part, but that explains it very well. Thank you so much.
Well, if you need the quick rundown on the sun signs, I have a 30-second version, so let me do it really quickly.
Okay.
Aries says, I am here, move out of my way. I'm figuring out that I have a self, individual from others, and an ego. I am. And then after Aries comes Taurus, and Taurus goes, oh, and I'm grounded. I have a body. I have physicality. Oh, let's make it healthy and strong. Oh, and by the way, I'm never going to be pushed around by anybody. I'm just going to embody my space and my heavy, earthy Taurus energy, and it's going to keep me safe until it doesn't. And then comes the Gemini. I have a mind, I can think, I can analyze, I can take one opinion and follow it all the way down that rabbit hole, and then take the opposite opinion, follow it all the way down that rabbit hole. And by doing that with my brilliant mind, I understand all things on earth. But oops, I need to get centered. Or one day I believe in this, and the next day I believe in something completely different. So how is that going to work in my relationships and in my work? And then comes Cancer. Cancer says, oh, I have feelings. I have love. I have hurt feelings. I have pain. Oh, wow, I care about other people. It's the birth of emotion, but it's deeply sensitive and easily wounded. But that also makes cancers really good healers. And when they talk about cancers and being homebodies, it's more about cancers are overwhelmed by emotion, and so they want to curl up and get in a cozy home so they feel safe, but they still have to feel. Then comes Leo, and Leo says, I am the roar of the lion and the life of the party and the sunlight in the darkness. So come and gather around me. And if I'm on path, I will use my heart to heal, enlighten, and help others. If I'm not on my path, I will use my Leo energy to boss people around and be the center of attention. And here comes Virgo. And Virgo says, oh, wait a minute, we need to think about all this stuff here. Wow, we got to solve all these problems. Oh my goodness, I am totally flawed. Oh my gosh, and so are you. We better dig into all this and figure out how to be better. That's the Virgo, and the Virgo drives themselves and everyone else crazy, but they do come up with solutions nobody else can see. Then comes Libra. Libra says, I am airy in the world and beautiful and artistic and graceful, but I am not grounded at all. And I'm sort of like Gemini because I go from one idea to the next and making a decision decision is so hard for me, but I am beautiful and artistic and caring and social. And then comes my favorite, Scorpio. And Scorpio says, I am deep and powerful and wise, and I am understanding human pain in this lifetime so that when I'm ready, I can rise up above the surface and help others come out of their pain journeys and heal themselves. But I won't show you everything about myself. I will keep a lot of it private, and that will make me very compelling and very charismatic and probably very beautiful as well. And then comes Sagittarius, and Sagittarius says, let's party, let's connect with small talk and just have fun. And I can have you as my best friend for 50 years and never know about your deepest pain or your true life story. But we will have fun and we'll talk about sports, and I'll be the easiest, most fun person to talk to. However, the Sagittarius is learning to go deep and quiet and connect with center and source. Then we come to Capricorn. Capricorn says, all you guys are foolish. Everybody get to work and accomplish things, please. And the Capricorns are so competent and they accomplish so many things, but you better not try to change their mind or push them around, because just like the Taurus, they are very stubborn and dug in. And then comes Aquarius. I have wonderful new ideas for humanity. Let me share these new ideas with the world. I could be a doctor, a psychologist, a philosopher, an author. My ideas are brilliant. But once again, I need to get back into my heart, because my heart has to lead the way and my mind wants to take me on the journey without my heart. Then comes Pisces, and Pisces says, oh, what a journey it's been in the human realm. I'm done with it all. I only want to focus on the divine, on the invisible, on the things we don't understand, on the mystical, on the otherworldly. And by the way, I'm deeply sensitive. I feel everything. I'm born intuitive. I'm born clairvoyant. So I better figure out how to get my feet on the ground here, or my life is going to be pretty rough. I'm going to have a hard time making a living and all that. But if I have the right grounding and the right guidance, I can walk in both worlds. And there's my astrology summary. And then there's more. Just found the page related to this. Okay. All right, so I think I've covered all the questions from last week. Is that correct? If anybody has another one, unmute.
I have a question. Can I
Okay.
ask?
Yes,
That's
yes.
last time when you were doing Michelle's birth path and she's a 9, you asked her, do you take care of your own health, as if like you don't trust anybody to take care of it for you, like doctors? Is that a trait of number 9?
Well, I don't remember that conversation, but a 9 path is on a final lifetime. And by the way, Sharon, are we talking about you? Are you on the 9 path journey?
Yes.
Ah, okay. So the 9 path has been to Earth many times, and so they have a level of comfort here and a level of understanding how to navigate the world. But they also they can also be stuck just focusing on being competent and being smart and navigating the world and thinking they have all the answers. Whereas the purpose of the 9 path is to walk the bridge from this world to the next by really opening the heart through all your pain and disappointment, by trusting the divine, by realizing that this physical world is only a small piece of what is important. And the 9 path hesitates to do that because the 9 is so comfortable in this world. A part of them wants to believe this is all there is. And by the way, they can make a lot of money very easily. So maybe they'll donate that to a nonprofit and feel really good about themselves, which is good. But they still have to go on that arc of learning, of embracing a bigger world and saying there's more to this than I know of, and I'm going to step up to it somehow. So yes, they might just not be open to what other healers tell them. They might want to just do it their way. But the 9 is also the number of surrender. So at some point in that lifetime, they are going to have to say, I am here to learn. And that will happen to a 9 path at one point or another in the journey.
Yeah, I'm a Taurus. Good luck.
A Taurus 9. Oh my goodness. Good
you.
luck. Good luck to your partner.
He's a 5.
Oh, well, he's got freedom and change and
La,
all of
la,
that.
la, la.
So you have to ground him, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, these are very fun, people. So if there's no other questions, let's move on and talk about some more very fun things in the book, including the name number. So let me get to share screen again. And the name number is page 37. So let me go here. Okay. So the name number is so fun. And when I first started doing numerology, I was obsessed with the name number. And so I'm sure you guys will have a lot of fun with it if you don't already understand it. But the thing is, since 1980 studying the numbers, what I believe is true is that, you know, the name number tells us a lot about our vibration while we're on Earth, our vibrational signature, so to speak. But the birth path really tells us the most important things. The birth path tells you why you're here and how to keep going when you're going through a really terrible reinvention point. Your birth path will guide you through it, and your personal year cycles will guide you through it. The name number will give you insight into who you are, why you're drawn to certain people or things or ideas, but it will never give you that sense of purpose that the birth path gives you. And so right off the way, off the beginning, I'll say, to avoid the questions about it, yes, you've got to calculate your birth name as well as the name you're currently using, because the birth name that is on your birth certificate carries a certain frequency of what your soul came to experience. And the name you change your name to, whether it's through marriage or just because you want to change your name, changes the frequency of how the world receives you, but it still does not change your path and what you've come to do. So my married name, Sue Frederick, has a much better frequency in the world than my birth name. And I remember meeting Paul and knowing that that was my name. His name was Paul Frederick. And then after he died, I've been married since then, and it never even crossed my mind to change my name to anything else, because I know on a soul level, Paul gave me my name, Sue Frederick, and it vibrates completely in alignment with the work I'm doing now. So to do this, it's pretty easy, and you can make a chart like this one where you put all the numbers out and you make your alphabet come across this way, and then you can go through your own. This is another way to look at that same configuration. And then you go through your own name, and I'll go to the next page. You go through your own name, and a consonants. I was taught that you take the consonant name of your name and put them beneath the name, and then the vowels go above it. And then you add all the vowels numbers, and that gives you your heart, like it says on this page, your soul's longing, or I can also call it your heart's longing. So for example, this chart right here, what she's longing for is to be strong and to have a grounded, strong, and healthy life. Then when you add up the consonants, these are all underneath here. The consonants tell you your personality number. What is the frequency that you are putting out in the world? And some frequencies are more attractive than others. So for example, Jane has this 11-2, the consonants are there. Jane has this 11 frequency, 2 frequency, so everyone wants to connect with her. She's easily accessible to people in friendship and in heart. And then the bottom, and then the total of vowel and consonant gives you your essential vibration, so to speak. And so the total of her consonants and vowels comes to the 6, but it's the 15-6. And what that means is that she came to learn love, and she came to experience love, be loved, and to heal herself and others. This is an old friend of mine who died right around the time Chrissy died. And these numbers just so very much informed to me why she left early, why I left her, why I loved her so much. And what was, when you think about her 6 being her essential vibration, that's a number of healing. And she died at the age of 31 or 32. And meanwhile, her illness sent her on a journey of spiritual seeking. So there's so much in these numbers, and you can really gain a lot of insight into your own path, and you can gain a lot of insight into your loved one's path. Now, what's really interesting is when you talk about the missing numbers, because when I came to numerology in 1980 and my numerologist did my birth name, she said, "Oh my God, I've never seen a name with so many missing numbers. You came in to learn and experience everything. It's such an intense life." And then she said, "But the name you took from Paul, Sue Frederick, has not as many missing numbers. So it is kind of a better way to move through the world, or to be read by other people at least." And so if you can understand as you go through your own name, what you're doing is you're taking, like J is a 1. And so that counts as one of these 4. And you just keep going through. A is a 1. So you count through, you add that here. See, these are the ones right here. You can see them up here. A, J, and S. And then you just keep going and you see, oh, she's missing 8. She's missing 4. And look, she has the most, but it's not out of balance. She has 4 of these and 4 of these. It's not an extreme journey of missing numbers. But what you can learn from that is that whatever you're missing is what you're determined to learn about before the lifetime is over. Whatever you have a lot of, you have already experienced in other lives, and you come in with those gifts, and yet you've got to turn them around and offer them to the world in your way, in the way that you can. So ask me questions. This is the page that shows you how to figure out your own name. So before we move on, I can't see the chat box here. So please unmute yourself if you have any of these questions about the name number.
Can you explain, sorry, I'm not 100% clear about your missing numbers. So you go on the grid and you put your name there, and then you figure out how many 1s and how many 2s, 3s, and then the numbers that are missing is
So
what.
so for example, I would write, okay, so let's just use this name. So you write out your name, and then you go J, let's go up here. Oh yeah, J is a 1. So I'm gonna put a mark here. When I do this, I just do 1, a dash. So I know I'm gonna add to it. And then you go to the next one, A, and that's 1. So yeah, put another mark here. And then you go to N, and N is a 5. So you come over here and add a mark here, and then you total them up and you get this kind of a printout here. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. So
Yes.
if I'm If I'm going and I'm missing 8, then do I go up to the positive and negative energy of numbers and look and read number 8 and understand then that's my challenge in the
Yeah,
lifetime?
Vicky, that 8 is about money and power. So it means you came to learn to own your money and your power and not give it away, and not let yourself be abused by other people who are more powerful. And I'm missing 8s as well, which is one of the reasons, oh, this is another piece of it. If I'm missing a number, I am drawn to other people who are on that path of the 8, for example. And I have gotten myself into trouble being in relationship with 8 path souls because they overpower me so much, but I'm drawn to them because I'm missing 8s. So you can look at that as well as, why are you drawn to certain people? I'm missing that number. So a part of me is kind of leaning into them to learn about it through them. But also, if you're missing 8s, for example, it means that either you have avoided having to make the money of your life and make it abundant. And we avoid that by either playing it small or by having someone else support us. But the call of the missing 8 says, oh, but you came to be very wealthy on your own terms. And so I would say that for the missing 8, you've got to make your independent business, your spirit business, your coaching business, whatever is your true work. You have to go at it like a business and really make it financially feasible, because you're missing 8s and it's one of the things you came to learn. Does that answer your question? Okay, I don't hear anybody. Any other questions about name, number, or should I move on to pinnacles? Are you guys there? I can't hear anything.
There's people typing in questions on the chat.
Oh, well, see, I got to get out of share so I can go.
Sue, I will admit that I'm still feeling confused about the missing, how you're coming up with the missing numbers. I
Oh.
see the giving the number values, that all makes very much sense to me, the vowels and the consonants, adding them up, but I'm not yeah, there's some missing piece for me that I'm not getting
Mhm.
this missing numbers part.
Okay, and who is this?
This is Melissa.
Oh, hi, Melissa. Okay.
Hi, Sue.
So the missing
I'm
numbers,
here.
so gosh, I don't know how to do whiteboard, and I'm not going to take up our time trying to figure that out right now, but let's take the name Melissa, Melissa. So
Yeah.
so you write that out, and then I have to go back to share screen to pull up these values for you again.
Right, I've done that.
Okay, so the M is a 4, right?
Yep.
The E is a 5.
5.
The L is a 3.
Right.
And then is it another I after that?
I is a 9.
9. And then 2 S's, that's
Uh-huh.
1 each, and then the A, 1.
Yes.
So when you write those out, what do
Right.
you not have, which numbers are not showing up in the bottom here?
Okay,
0.
so I've got on the bottom, I've got 4322.
So in other words, do you have any numbers in your name besides 4322?
Am I looking at both consonants and vowels?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
When we do missing numbers, we are looking at every consonant
Okay.
and vowel.
Yes, I mean, I can look at it that way and understand that I don't have an 8 and I don't have a 6. 2, 3, 4, and no, I guess only 8 and 6 if we're
Okay,
1 through
so that's a
9.
pretty good balance there. You're only missing
Okay.
2 numbers. And the 8 is again that call to make money, that call to bring your abundance to the world, that call to not give away your power, and to own your financial success. That's part of what you're trying to learn. And the missing 6 is about opening your heart, loving yourself, loving family, loving home, healing yourself, healing others. And don't forget, the numbers we're missing, we are actually working on our whole lifetime. So however
Okay.
old you are now, you've
Mhm.
probably had many times in this life where you've been focused on either the 8 of money and success and power or the 6 of healing, heart, and family. But
Yeah.
you probably learned a lot by now in those 2 areas because they're missing,
Yeah.
and you've had a long and beautiful life.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does now. I just, as I was looking at that 1 through 9 and the numbers below it, I didn't understand where the 4110411, where that came from. That was related to Jane's name.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we did calculate doing Jane's name, all of her vowels and consonants. This is a different calculation than
Right.
this one, where you're looking at the
Yes.
soul's longing, the personality number, all of that. That's different. Now we come to see what's missing.
Yes.
So now we use vowels and consonants to see what numbers are missing.
Okay. I understand better now, I think, even though that bit seems confusing to me the way it's laid out, the one. Anyhow, let's
Well,
move
look
on.
at this page, use this page to help you. You write your name there on that page. If you have the printed workbook, you
Yes.
could do it right there. Write your name on that page and then say, oh, look, S is my first letter and that's a 1. And so you put a mark underneath the 1.
Okay.
Okay, so other people are raising their hands, I think. So yes, Shannon, go ahead.
Hi, can you talk about how the missing numbers apply when you get married or adopted?
So in other words, when your name changes, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So for example, in my birth name, I was missing pretty much everything except for 3 numbers. And then when I changed my name through marriage, I suddenly was only missing, well, I'd have to go back and do it, but it dramatically improved, that my name didn't feel like I had so much to do in this lifetime. So what that means is that, yes, I still had to do all that learning. Yes, my soul did come to learn all of those numbers that I was missing. But when the world meets me, when I would apply for a job or anything like that, they're not sensing in me right away that I am missing so many numbers and that my life is so intense and I'm trying to learn so many things. Instead, they're picking the vibration of my name, Sue Frederick, which sounds stronger and more competent and more grounded and not so much learning to do. And yet, if they know my true self, they know it's a heck of a lifetime and it's been learning in every area of life. And so it's just a safer way to go through life and be evaluated by others if that name carries more numbers. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. These are really good questions. And I can't see the chat. Let me get out. Are there any more questions in the chat? Can somebody just read to me what the questions are in the chat that I haven't answered?
This is Lorraine. I ask, is a Y treated as a vowel?
Oh, thank you for asking that. Oh my goodness. So this is a really difficult question because I have studied so many different teachers and what they teach about this. And if you come, and look at the Y here, it's a 7, but is it a vowel or a consonant? And it can be both. And when you go and read some numerology books, they only look at it as a consonant, right? And then some only look at it as a vowel. And then my teacher told me, well, you've got to see where it lands in the name before you decide if it's a vowel or a consonant. So, for example, a Y at the end of the name is a consonant, I think, because it ends the name and it's not in the middle. But if your name were, and now I can't think of one, if Y were the vowel, the only vowel in that name, and if anybody can think of an example, please speak up, because I know there are.
Cindy spelled with a
Yeah,
Y.
Byron.
There you go. Thank you, guys. Yes, then you should count it as a vowel. Thank you.
My Y is
Yes, look at your Y.
middle.
Your Y is so interesting. Laura Lynn, right?
No, Lorraine.
Lorraine. Oh, right. I would call that a vowel, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
it acts like an I, right?
correct.
Yeah, perfect. You
Yeah.
guys are so smart. You're asking such good questions. It's interesting because my web guy is trying to create a name calculator for me right now. He was the one who came back and he said, look, I've been looking this up on the web and they're all over the place. Like some people count it as vowel, some as consonant. So he's trying to develop a tool where it lands in the name will determine if it's a vowel or a consonant, so that you guys can go to it and just input your name and get the right answer. So Vicky?
Yeah, so I saw like in Jane and Crosby, she used her full name there. And then I know when you did Melissa, you did just her first name. Can you just do either, or do they have different meanings depending on?
No, you should do your whole name, because the whole name carries the whole vibration of it. I was just doing the first name as an example of how to do that.
Okay, and then I also noticed like I'm looking back at the number to find the meaning of it. Do I just go to that in your PDF workbook, the first description of our personal numbers to find what the number means, or is there another place?
So in this workbook, which you can get already printed for you on, it's on Amazon. It does have all those numbers, and I'm just trying to find the page. Here it is. It has from here on page 12, 13,
Yep.
14, 15. But I will say it's a lifelong study. It's not like you can just read what's written here and go, oh yeah, I understand this. You have to really try to work with these numbers to understand them. And the way I learned numerology, back in 1980, was there weren't a lot of books. Actually, I had one book. So you go and ask everybody you know their date of birth and their name, and then you go home in your little notebook and you keep figuring it out and saying, gosh, that person is an 8 path, and look how they're living their life. And I can basically tell you honestly that every client I've ever had has taught me something by looking at how that number applies to their life, their path, their relationships, their name. We're constantly learning the more we work with those numbers. And it's a beautiful learning. It's an arc of learning that can last your whole life, And I love it so much that I'm sure I told you guys this, but like when I watch football games, I figure out the paths of both of the quarterbacks, and watch how that applies to how they play the game. And my husband's into baseball, so I do the same thing with him about the pitchers in particular, like how does the pitcher's birth path influence how they play? When you start experimenting with it like that and really looking at it with an open mind, it's so phenomenal to watch it and to feel into it. Then you have to take it to the intuitive place where, for example, I was watching, I caught the tail end of the Super Bowl because I had an online reading group that night. And it's so funny because I was telling my husband, gosh, I've been studying Patrick Mahomes as a Virgo 5 path, and I'm really curious to see if he's going to win, but the game's going to be over by the time I get there. And the game wasn't over. It went into overtime. So I got to watch the last few plays. He's a Virgo 5. And when you look at the 5 energy of fearless, do it courageously, change it up. Don't be attached to what just happened a minute ago, change it up. And then the Virgo mind that says, I'm going to analyze my opponent and understand everything about how they're going to play. And I'm going to be steady with how I move down the field. That's the epitome of getting the gestalt, the whole picture of who he is and how he plays football. So for fun, you should be doing that, you know, whatever sport you're into, or even if it's just people that you know in the world and how they're behaving and how they live their life. And it gives you so much insight into how these numbers, what they really mean and how they influence us. So was there somebody else reading questions from the chat here?
Can I ask you a question? I got the information and I understand by looking up in the book what it means. But where do I look about the second number? How important is that second number?
So by second number, what do
So
we?
if my name was an 8/17, my total name was 8/17.
Or it's 17/8, actually.
Okay, 17/8.
Yeah. So
What-
what that means is you know that 8 is the essential vibration of that, whether it's your path or your name or something. But the 17 that leads to it also gives us insight. So for example, if it's 17, it means that you have a gift for being independent and strong, and the 7 is spiritual pursuit. Those gifts get caught up and brought into your 8 path energy or your 8 name energy, which is different. For example, if it were a 44/8, then that has a different understanding. It's about being strong and working hard, but maybe not lifting up for a bigger understanding of life. So you can look at the double number before your final digit, and again, breathe into it, feel into it, and gather information from that. And when I do a person's birth path, I do look at, if let's just say they're an 8 birth path, I do look at the 3 ways you add that 8 and what are the 3 different combinations that are leading up to the 8 in that person's path, because it gives you insight. You can think of it as, when you study astrology, there's all these different components, the houses and, you know, the different pieces that go into understanding a person's chart. Numerology is that complex. As you dig into it, it does start going into a lot of complicated areas. But the more time you take with learning each number, with studying, like if we go back in this workbook to the pages about doing your birth path the 3 different ways, let me find that. You know, you're going to find when you do somebody's path, oh, that one is boring here. Let me get to, I wish I had somebody else's that was more interesting. Well, this one is, you know, you have the 22 here, the 22 here, and the 13 here. So what you take from that is that, yes, they're stepping up to the master number 22. They're going to really embrace that high frequency. However, over here, they also have a tendency to be independent or stubborn or want to take their own path, which is the 1 energy, and the 3, creativity, painting, art, conversation, you know, all of that creative, playful stuff that's unusual on the 4 path. But the dominant energy is the 22 that leads to the 4 for that person. So the more you kind of play with those energies and those numbers, it really helps you drill it down for each person that you're looking into, studying, or working with.
Thank you.
All righty. You guys are such good people here asking so many good questions. So next, I think we're going into the pinnacles. Now, the pinnacles are, in my opinion, very helpful for us. They are a little complicated to figure out, but I've got the formula here. But what it means is that during your lifetime, you each of us goes through 4 pinnacle cycles. Now forget personal year cycles. That's a different thing. We talked about that last week. You can go back and review that. The pinnacle cycles there's only 4 of them. So you've got to use different formulas to figure out each one. And just go by this page and don't try to memorize it yourself. It's just easier to read it from the page. So to understand your first pinnacle number, you add your month of birth and your date of birth. So if you're using the month of September as a 9 and the date of the birth is 15, that gives you a 24, which digits to the 6. So the first pinnacle number of this birth date, which is right here, the first pinnacle number is the number 6. Then the second pinnacle number, you add day of birth with year of birth. That gives you this. You digit that all down to these 2 numbers. So the second pinnacle is 22-4. Then you go to the third pinnacle and you take this number, add it to that number, and you get the third pinnacle number. And then the fourth pinnacle is your month and your year of birth, and you add those together. So they last different amounts of time depending on your path, which again complicates it for people, but it's all written here in a formula that you can follow. So so my path is the 4, and we just did my pinnacles. So my first pinnacle ran until I was 32, and that was the number 6. And then my second pinnacle went from 32 to 41, and that was 22. So what I think is so informative for me here is that 6 is the number of love, of community, and healing. I mean, really, my whole first part of my life, Paul died when I was 30, was about love, finding love and creating community and home. And I had a commune that I was a part of in my early 20s. So 6 really was my lesson, my overarching lesson until I was 32. And then at 32, I really began my real career as a writer, a journalist, working for newspapers and magazines and honing my craft as a writer. And I became quite successful, and I felt very on path. I was writing about health. I was VP of content for health websites, magazines, all of that. And I felt really like I was doing good work in the world, but it was one deadline to the next. It was 80-hour-a-week jobs. Then I go into this pinnacle, a third pinnacle, and based on your path, you can see the ages that your pinnacles last. And in this pinnacle, I was a single mom, which I could say these were some of the hardest years of my life, and that number 1 reflects it completely. Any of you who've been single moms, you know that there's no harder job, and you feel more alone than anybody in the world, because everywhere you go, it's families, and it's just you and your child, or your children. And so I learned a lot in that one pinnacle about being strong on my own and not relying on anyone else. And then I moved into the 7 pinnacle, which is very much about spirituality and intuition. And guess what? That's when I started doing the work I'm doing today, that I've been doing since, 20 something years. So those pinnacles fit my growth perfectly. And it wasn't like I was checking to see what they were before all those things happen. I would just move through life and then go back and look and go, oh yeah, well, that makes sense. So if your path, for example, is the 8, then your first pinnacle lasts until you're 28, right in the middle of your Saturn return. And then your second pinnacle runs from 28 to 37. Your third pinnacle runs from 37 to 46. And then your fourth pinnacle runs from 46 on. So it's so different according to the different paths. And I hope you've all calculated that for yourself, because it is very interesting and very helpful. And it also helps you know, let's say you're having a rough time. Let's say there's a number like number 1, I think can be hard. It can make you feel that you're kind of going it alone. And looking at this, you go, oh, well, it's only 9 years of my life, and then it's going to change. And so it kind of helps you understand that everything is changing all along, that you're just learning what you need to learn. Your soul picked that these numbers you needed to focus on in this lifetime. And so you're focusing on them. Any questions? Please start talking and just unmute yourself. All right. Well, let me just go see. Are you guys still there?
Give us just a minute to catch up.
Okay.
I have a question, Sue.
Yes.
So for instance, my first pinnacle is 0 to 30 and it's at 8. So at that age, I mean, I guess in your 20s and 30s you're making money, but as that childhood, would it be more about
Power.
then? Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
for example, was somebody abusing you and you had to learn to stand strong in your own power,
Yeah, right.
right?
Right. Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Right. Thank you.
Here's a 7.
Yeah. These are such good questions. I haven't heard from some of you. Please remember you can speak up at any time, ask me anything. Because some of you are people that I love dearly. Oh, and I wanted to connect to some of you, especially I didn't really get to talk to Mary Ellen. Is she still here? Mary Ellen, are you still here? Yeah. You doing okay, baby girl? Mary Ellen just went through a grief journey recently. So anyway, I love all of you, and I'm just hoping that these are answering your questions and helping you. And the other thing I wanted to do was do some quick mini readings. And so I guess we should go to that unless there's questions here.
The one question when I signed up for the class was, because we just went over Pinnacle, was the significance or some insight into when you're how do I put it? The universal year, your personal year, and your pinnacle year,
Right.
all the same number, which is an 8.
Oh my God, is that where you are, Mary Ellen?
Yes, and that's why
about-
January was so rough, and because you
Right.
said it was a 9 month.
Right.
And so literally Ted passed away 2/1/24.
Yeah.
So just trying to kind of get prepped for
Well, it's a call for you to own your power, which you've done beautifully. I've watched you do that over the last few years. You've made all the right decisions. And now with him crossing, it's another call for you to say, what is my most powerful life now? Without his care being a part of my story. Does that make sense to you?
but it's the lost that whole the power, but when you don't have any idea how that's supposed to unfold.
Yeah. Well, you've had to spend so long taking care of him and making sure that his care, I mean, even when he was in a home, you were having to manage it and you were having to show up. Now, the good news is you get to put it all back on your life and your purpose, Mary Ellen.
Okay.
And, you made really good decisions about moving out of that house a while ago. So you've already begun to start owning your power and getting your life in gear. But I would go back and really meditate on who you were before you met him, what your dreams were then, what you were trying to do with your life, and see if now that informs who you're going to be for the rest of this lifetime.
But when we talk about soul, our soul agreements, when they're twos, which you said is that deep connection. That's why I still feel like even though he's gone, we're still connected. I mean, I've got communication from like day one. I mean, that angel card, the morning after he passed. So I just feel like there's still a partnership, even though if he's physically not here.
Yeah, but you don't have
See, I
to.
see people nodding. They know what I'm talking about, whether it's your
Exactly
child, your
right.
spouse,
That's
or whatever.
exactly right. But you don't have to now spend your working hours focused on how to solve problems for his care. Now he's in the divine, so you have a partner in the divine to help you move forward and live the rest of your life for your soul's growth, for your great potential, for all the things we've talked about over the years.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart. Okay. These are all so good. And is my Gail here? I can't see.
Hi, Sue.
Oh, my beautiful Gail, how are you?
I'm good. It's so good to see you.
Oh,
I love all this stuff. So,
I'm
and
so
I missed
glad
you.
you're
So I
with
thought I'm going to
us.
jump on.
I
Yeah, I
know, I
wanted to come
miss you
see you.
too. How are you doing, baby girl? How are you doing?
Hanging in there. Yeah, a
Hearing
lot
from
going on.
your son a lot?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Gail's son is in spirit, and he's one of the most powerful spirits I've ever known. And he's gave Gail one of the best signs that I've ever heard about. And if you don't mind, Gail, do you want me to show it? I have it in my virtual background here.
Of course. Yeah.
I love sharing this because it blows people's minds. Gail, do you want to tell the story of this?
Yeah, I had been on Sue's podcast, her mystical conversations, telling my story about my journey with Jake and how he has opened me up, my intuition. And I had gone to the mausoleum to go visit. It was his angelversary, and I was really missing him. And I was crying in the car, and I put Sue's podcast on to re-listen to it. And I was saying, I really need a sign to know you're with me. And I got on the highway, and right in front of me was this truck.
Have you guys ever seen a Jake truck?
No.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So ask and you shall receive. Gail, that is one of the most beautiful signs I have ever
Yeah.
heard about.
I mean, that's like an in your face one.
Definitely.
Yeah.
In fact,
Well, I love that it's not only Jake, but it's transporting.
I know, right? Like
Yeah.
Jake is transporting himself down here to
Yeah.
show you that he's still with you.
Yeah. Yep. hmm But it was the divine timing of it, like it was
Yes.
right after I had been crying at the mausoleum, and it
And
was,
you
I was,
said, I
put your
really need
podcast
a
on.
sign. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was listening to re-listening to the podcast to like lift my spirits up, and yeah.
Well, you did a great job. And I've shown you guys this one, right? The angel that appeared in my room. I hope I've shown you that one.
Yep.
These signs, and that's for all of you too, when you're trying to figure out your purpose and how to navigate relationships and how to navigate your reinvention points. Don't forget that it's easier than the numbers even. We simply call out for help. Actually, we just call to be lifted up, to have our frequency raised so that we can feel that connection, so that we can feel our purpose, so that it feels lighter and easier for us to move forward. That asking for help is something we forget to do here on earth. We are also determined to get it done and figure it out ourselves because the world tells us that's what we should do. But how easy is it to go, oh, my beloved Paul, Chrissy, Marv, Dad, all my spirit posse, Chief Fool's Crow, I need some help with such and such. Can you all just solve it for me or lift me up to a higher frequency so that I understand the right next step to take? And thank you. I trust that it is done. And so it is. It's that easy. Or you can also ask your angels or your spirit guides or go directly to the highest source, God consciousness. And I talk to spirit all day long, and you all should be too. It's an open pathway of communication. I call on angels for certain things. I call on guides for certain things. I definitely call my posse of spirit on the other side, Paul, Chrissy, Marv, Jane, my dad, and several, Jeff, they're all on the other side, and they show up for me as they show up for you all as well. So take advantage of that. And I'm seeing more questions here. Is there a relationship between synchronicities and numerology? I didn't see that question before. There are certain questions here that I haven't seen yet. So in my opinion, there's no such thing as a coincidence. Everything is a sign. So for example, if you keep seeing the number 11 or the number 22, wherever you go, or the number 33, it has a certain meaning for your soul. Your soul, it's reminding you, hey, wake up, you're a soul on a journey. And if you're seeing your path number, that's your soul going, hey, remember, you came here to accomplish something, get it done. And if you're seeing another person's number, somebody in spirit perhaps, then you know that's a direct communication from them. But trust it and know that whatever numbers you're seeing, there is a message for your soul in that, and it's never bad. It's never scary. It's never dark. This is a divine universe led by light and love. And it is meant to help us fulfill our learning potential here. This is where we come to learn, Earth. So there are many signs here to help us remember who we are and why we're here. So this is great. More things you guys are writing in here. Okay, let me do a quick reading. So I'm just going to who do we do here? Who do we need most? Who most needs a quick mini reading? Somebody who's really struggling. Quickly unmute and give me your name and date of birth.
Can I give you my date of birth?
Who is this? Sharon?
Sherry.
Yeah. Oh, Sharon, have you done it? Do you know did you go to the soul path calculator? Do you know the sun sign and the path and personal year and all that?
I have done it, yeah.
Okay, so give me that information.
Oh, I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, so I really need somebody to come in who has all that. You can just go to the website right now and do that if you want.
I have mine.
Who is that, Melissa?
No, Kim's not on there for some reason.
So who is speaking? Kim?
Yeah.
All right, Kim, go ahead. Give me yours.
Okay. My birth path is 9, and the soul path.
What's your sun sign?
I'm an Aries, 4/16.
Aries 9?
Yes.
And your age?
63.
And your personal year?
1.
Ah, okay. So this is good. We will just feel right into this. So Kim, as a powerful old soul, you are in a transition. Last year was the ending of so much of what you had always relied on. It was a letting go, a great deep surrender. Take a breath. This is the year you start the new cycle where your old soul wisdom brings you to the most meaningful phase of your life. And hopefully you are in a career where you're able to heal and help people. If not, that's what you're being called to do because you're a 9-path soul. It's a final lifetime journey. It's about lifting up to put your attention on how you can help others because you need to go to bed at night knowing you've made a difference for one person or for a number of people. That's what lights you up. If you've had grief and loss, especially in the last cycle of your life, then this is the time that you turn that around and learn to help others who are in pain. And whether you call it being a therapist or a counselor or a medium, it is time to embrace the new definition of who you are. Now, ask me a question. What is your question tonight?
Wow. What you were saying before, everything you were talking about, I don't know if it was the 9 or I was like the complete opposite for me. Like I felt the complete opposite. Like I don't have it all together. Whatever you were saying, I was the complete opposite. I'm thinking, no, I don't feel any of that.
Well, Kim, it's an old soul path, which means you are an old soul. You've probably had a lot of loss, a lot of disappointment in this lifetime, and that
Yep.
has made you doubt yourself, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you're not a highly evolved soul. You are. And so it's time to eliminate from your life the people who make you doubt your beauty, doubt your goodness, and to do meaningful work, because that builds your sense of self. What are you doing for a living? Anything?
I was just gonna say, I'm retired actually.
So this is perfect time for you to study things like, being a spiritual guide or studying those spiritual courses like mediumship and just seeing how it opens you up to other parts of yourself. Are you grieving?
Um, yes, not from someone who's died recently. They've been gone a while, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then just for people that are here that I don't talk to. It's
Mhm.
a big no.
So these people who you're not talking to, that's all of what you've left behind right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you're right.
in this new cycle, you're in a 1 year. This is going to be the best cycle of your life, but don't let those old definitions of yourself saying, oh, I don't have it together, I don't know, who I am. Don't tell those stories. I want you to be saying, I'm a powerful divine being who came here on a final lifetime quest to be disappointed by those less awakened and turn that disappointment into compassion, forgiveness, and grace. And I am finding my way to do that. And I have to study spiritual wisdom and spiritual knowledge in order to step up to that high frequency of the 9 ultimate lesson and ultimate surrender. And you can do it in this cycle. And you're in a 1 year. So take some classes and go volunteer, go do work, whether you go to a homeless shelter or you just go to a coffee shop and
I want to help animal. I want to go volunteer at an animal shelter. Animals. So yeah, because I've helped people all my life. That's all I've ever done was help. I've helped everyone, believe me.
Then go do the animal communication, which would be so peaceful and beautiful for you, working in an animal shelter, connecting heart and heart and soul to soul. And it'll give you your place. It'll lead to other doors opening. You might end up studying Reiki with animals and doing that kind of energy work. All of that awaits you. Don't be defined by the past because you're starting a new cycle. Okay, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's close our eyes and pray out here. And then next week, we have more things to cover. Plus, we'll do more mini readings and answer more metaphysical questions, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody take a deep breath and we'll pray out. We are calling in all the spirits of our loved ones in the divine, of our guides, of our angelic beings, who care about us, who love us unconditionally. And we're saying, thank you so much for everything you've given to us in our whole life, but especially even now at this phase of our journey. Thank you for all the wisdom you've brought through each person in this class tonight. Thank you for showing us the tools of numbers to help guide our reinvention points and to remember our soul's mission. We are deeply grateful that this is such a loving, divine order universe, and it is run by the God force of pure, unconditional love. And we are part of that, and so it is. Thank you all so much. I'll send you this recording. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next
Sue.
week.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank
Love you
you.
all. Bye.
I love you.
Thank you.